We're here today to discuss a few things in the BMX world. I got a couple of my good friends and colleagues with me, Spencer Thomas and Kim Baker, and basically...
to do.
Well, it would be odd if you didn't have a drink in your hand. It just wouldn't be legit.
I feel...
Yeah, natural. You don't feel natural, I'm sure.
Just do a singler to bring me around.
Sure, that's fine. I think you're that.
As we stated before, we're here to talk about BMX racing and the pretty much the decline of it, really. Want to point out a few things right off the rips. Going to discuss probably clips versus flats, carbon versus steel, and probably the jump versus the flat track that you're seeing nowadays. So we'll get to that.
Most notable decline in the sport, I think, is the mellowing out, the lack of jumps. Watching guys that make entire careers and successful careers out of never leaving the ground. You know, becoming a speed jumping artist, and that, it just, in my opinion, it doesn't reflect any of the true nature of the sport, which, has always been motocross. That's why the sport began. It was,
right.
To imitate. There was, originally it was like Any Sunday 2, where, the poor kids imitating motorcycles right down to the noise. That was all part of it, and of course, it may date myself, and it may. Make me seem antiquated or something like that. But, I think I've got a firm finger on the pulse of the knowledge that we were the generation that created the sport. And I know I'm not one to sit there and say that the good old days were the best, but there were elements of it that, maybe we should return to.
I think I think BMX in general, not just even BMX racing, and you've probably seen this as well, is that it's kind of gone on the ground all across the board. You know what I mean? You're seeing, it kills me that a kid can be, a 17, 18 expert and win races by, manualing everything, or being super techie. That's what wins a race. Because, I think at the end of the day, people, it came from where people... I remember showing up at tracks, and if you didn't jump certain jumps,
you
didn't win.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And it kind of forced that out of people. But even the same thing, you show up at these skate parks, and you'll see a kid that can do a fucking 180 nose bonk into a feeble, into a backwards fucking thing, but he couldn't
hit a dirt jump 3 feet high.
Yeah, he couldn't jump a dirt jump or hit even a box jump for that. Let's rattle off a couple quick subjects here. I'm going to throw it down and we'll have a quick discussion. Clips versus flats.
Flats, all day.
Clips.
Flats.
Flats because it's just less scary for me, coming from knee injuries and stuff. But that's where that's where I lay on that issue.
I run clips for a number of reasons. A, because they make you faster. Hands down, same idea as a road bike. You push down and you pull up. You're in the bicycle, so you have much more control over the bike. Your starts are, I'm not saying that you can't get a good start on flats, but, coming out of the gate with both feet pulling and pushing, it just kind of makes sense. As far as the whole scared thing, sometimes it's it's sketchy, but there's been one crash in my whole life where I couldn't, the bike was stuck to me and it was a real shitty crash. Most times you pop out, or it's almost such second nature now. Even in mountain biking, it's such a second nature when you come around a turn or something's not right, just to unclip.
Yeah. So
you could never get me off of clips.
Well, the only thing I can say, how are you going to throw your finish line knack if you're clipped in? That's all I have to say.
That's a valid point. Although, and you were there this day, I think I did those. I was doing those one-footed tabletops clipped in on the mountain bike.
Yeah, I did see that.
So,
I like a heel clicker.
it's another story. All right, another quick topic: carbon versus steel.
Steel is real. Are you kidding me? The catastrophic failure of carbon is enough should win my point on this, and also the longevity of steel is another thing.
They
Carbon
do
gets
say
played.
they do say that carbon doesn't break until it explodes.
Yes,
But I think carbon has its place in certain applications.
the road.
I think that it's been proven to be a really strong material. All the stress tests and everything against it have been awesome. But there's always like that weird thing. Like I always demonstrate it with mountain biking more so than BMX. But it's like if you go through the rock garden and you tip over a carbon bike and it it hits a rock or whatever and it gets scuffed up, then that's like a weak point. Anytime carbon gets scratched or nicked or anything like that, then it's it's vulnerable at that point.
Yeah, because it has a lot to do with the strength of the resins as opposed to the weave.
Right. So I think with certain aspects, I think for little kids, carbon's amazing in BMX. I think that you can build a bike that's like 10 pounds is crazy. It's almost getting to the point where it's too light. Like kids can't even keep them on the ground. But I have carbon forks on my race bike and.
You're still alive. Well, you're still not you're not in a wheelchair yet.
So.
I also think that steel's come a long way. Bike frames are still getting lighter and lighter.
Right. Would you run a steel frame or an aluminum frame if you had the choice on a race bike?
I'd go back to steel. If it was a high-tech steel frame, that's easy enough because again, your longevity's there. Aluminum really, from gate starts and stuff like that, an aluminum frame is almost done in about a year.
True. It's it's the thing about chromoly is it'll flex. Like you'll feel it flex, like right out, like a brand new. Like you'll buy a brand new stander right now, and it'll flex it in the gate. Mm-hmm. And the thing about aluminum is if you get a brand new aluminum frame, they're super stiff. But like you said, after a good year of racing, these frames are pretty played out.
Yeah, totally.
I used to tell her like the kids on our team and stuff. I used to tell them all the time. The parents. I was like, you're usually good for a frame in a season. If at least every other season, you should be getting a new frame. So,
personally, I think it's gotten a little bit tame. And there's most of the tracks you go to now, they're totally reliant on the fact that you're going to be clipped in. They're going to get that extra pull up. The lips are dead. They're trying to make it safer and safer. And all along, I felt that in BMX is an imitation of motocross, or at the very least should be pretty close to it.